It's that time of year when the critics of the world get together to try to put things in perspective, really the first half of the year. And that's what I'm doing because I'm a critic and I have perspective. So these are the worst films I've seen so far in 2026. This is the most important list. This is the list that you've been looking for. I've seen to date like 177 films either released in 2026 theatrically or onto streaming, and including festival films, which may or may not release, but will count for me here. If I got a screener for it this year, it's counted as one of the titles, which makes it a little difficult for a film like She's the He on either list, on any list, because I saw that in 2025 when it was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, but it got its theatrical release in June, but it was on my list for 2025. So I can't just keep putting it on lists. Anyway, back to this list. The worst movie of the year thus far is In the Blink of an Eye. This is directed by Andrew Stanton. Oh my God. Oh my God, this thing was at Sundance and it won some sort of like science prize, and that was it. Like, it won the prize for being like the most scientifically accurate film. That does not necessarily make a good film, though. The good news for Andrew Stanton is that he also directed Toy Story 5. This is available on Hulu, Disney Plus with audio description. So if you want to subject yourself to one of the most tedious and boring films of the year with no reward, I would not watch this. Next up is Melania, because that bears mentioning. That happened this year. I don't. I think some critics have dodged putting it on their list because they don't want people to comment and be like, "Yo!" It's like, I can't not make a 10 worst films list without mentioning Melania. And it's not even the Melania of it all. It's just not a good documentary. Brett Ratner's not really a documentarian. He doesn't really ask any questions or find out anything interesting. Everything feels like it's set up. Like the whole thing just isn't a good documentary, regardless of where you land on the political spectrum. It just is, and considering the budget, it's really hard to ignore Melania, considering how much money they spent on Melania. Anyway, moving on. The Strangers Chapter 3, because oh my God, yes, of course this is on there. If somebody's list cannot be complete without The Strangers Chapter 3. They can't be doing 10 films. There are there are not 10 other films to absolve The Strangers. Even though if it feels like you're beating a dead horse because in previous lists you keep saying The Strangers over and over again because for some reason, unbeknownst to man, they gave Rennie Harlan the movie to do all three films at the same time without even checking to see if anybody would like the first one. That's kind of unheard of. Like, most of the time, you wait to see if the first one pops, which is kind of the problem that Kevin Costner's run into with Horizon Part 2, which is finished and still can't release. He's done with the second film. He was shooting the third film. The second film was wrapped and nobody has seen Horizon in theaters. Actually, that's not true. It's played at festivals. So some people have gotten to see Horizon Chapter 2. But will it ever find a mass audience? God knows. Anyway, next up on the list of crap is Chum, coming to us. So far, everything has had audio description. Melania has audio description on Amazon, and The Strangers just has audio description if you rent it or find it or are gifted it. And I'm so glad. Is Tamra here? I'm so glad I don't have to hear that anymore. So yeah, Chum, also with audio description, courtesy of IFC. It's an Australian shark movie that didn't know that Dangerous Animals came out last year and made this genre better because it sort of did what Chum wants to do. It just did it better. Chum is sort of a nonsensical version of Dangerous Animals. and a very obvious one. It's not really that fun. It's really shitty. It's a shitty shark movie. They happen quite frequently, and they're about to happen again because also on my list is Thrash. Oh my god. I've heard visually also that this movie is dreadful because apparently they didn't bother to have like the wind blowing the whole time, and they're in the middle of a hurricane. So they don't even have to fight the elements. There's just sharks and they just kind of pop up out of nowhere, and a whole bunch of characters I don't care about, and storylines I didn't care about, and inane things that are happening. This is on Netflix. Some films are cheesy because they know they're cheesy, like Sharknado knows it's cheesy. Thrash should be that, but it's not. It plays itself like it's a serious shark movie, which is also kind of the problem of Chum. These films that want to be shark movies, but really they're crappy and kind of borderline campy, they don't lean into the Sharknado of it all. They just try to present like a series, and then it just kind of gets dull and uninteresting. Do some crazy stuff, do some campy shit, have someone run around with a chainsaw and trying to cut through sharks. I don't know, something, but these movies were dreadful. Anyway, next up on the list is a little bit of a surprise because Andrew Kevin Walker is the writer behind Seven, but his new movie Psycho Killer is abysmal. Uh, it's just, it's like, what on earth? Especially, I think it's actually more disappointing when it's from the from the guy who brought you Seven, you know? It's just it has Georgina Campbell in it. I haven't put out a review for this yet. I've been debating it. It does have audio description, actually currently on Disney Plus slash Hulu. I don't know if it probably comes through Hulu. It'd be weird for it to be coming through Disney Plus. And it's a serial killer movie, but it's just a bleak, miserable one that doesn't really make a lot of sense. The killer is kind of lazy in writing, especially compared to what Kevin Spacey did in Seven. Um, I think Psycho Killer is hitting everybody's bottom 10 because of Andrew Kevin Walker, to be honest. The cast is, I mean, Georgina Campbell's fine. We liked her in, you know, that Barbarian film, but otherwise it's just there's it's this if this hadn't been touched by the guy who gave us Seven, I don't think anybody would care. I don't think this would even register. Nobody would have bothered with it. It just doesn't have enough behind it. So next up on the list is a film I hate. I hated this movie, Dreams. I might have even scored this a little bit higher with the, with the cast and trying to find and trying to be nice. And I got a screener for this, and I try not to be mean when I get screeners, but damn, I hated Dreams. I hated what it had to say. I hated the endings, the twists, the stuff towards the end, and how they manipulated the character and how they left him, and everything about Dreams is just it, it's just dark and ugly. I just there's nothing about this film that I liked. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone ever in any situation. I don't know that this film has audio description. I was presented without it, so even better reason to skip it. Next up on my list, we're at 8 now. Ladies First, the Sacha Baron Cohen comedy. Talk about a wasted premise. An absolute wasted premise on Sacha Baron Cohen. I mean, maybe the original was funny. I heard it was a French film, but this is just complete miscalculation of what is funny and what is not funny, and then also just the gender studies effect of it all. If we're gonna do it, then do it. He's when he flips over to the alternate reality, and he's like, "Well, I have to climb the corporate ladder." It's like, no, he doesn't. He starts off at already at an executive level. So the hilarity of watching him go through climbing a corporate ladder, he really just has to take one step forward. it's it's not an insurmountable thing. A lot of the stuff about the trades for men and women are they don't really make any sense. Some of them are cute, you know, like you would have a Burger Queen or something like that, but it's a lot of them just are confusing and you wonder why someone thought that was funny. So, like the jalapeno shots are just that's what women do when they take over the world. Anyway, I would avoid Ladies First. It's on Netflix with audio description. Another film on Netflix with audio description is In the Hands of Dante, which is just what? I I where this film is and where it should be are in two wildly different places. This is from the guy who brought us like Diving Bell and the Butterfly, Before Night Falls, and At Eternity's Gate, and he's got a stacked cast here. I mean, this cast is nuts. It's Oscar Isaac, it's Gerard Butler, it's Gal Gadot, it's Al Pacino, John Malkovich, Martin Scorsese's in this, Jason Momoa. There's so many people. Sabrina Impacciatore. There's so many people in this movie, and it is so bad. It's baffling. The story tries to do a dual timeline thing that never really is explained and or works out, where Oscar Isaac is playing Dante Alighieri and also the guy trying to find Dante Alighieri's manuscript in the present day so that he can make some bank off of it. The film is randomly violent to some hilarious effect, and then also just out of nowhere. I don't know what Jason Momoa is doing in this movie. Gal Gadot has caught a lot of flack for a role that gives her really nothing to do. She just has to stand around and be pretty. Gerard Butler has some bizarre, offensive dialogue in this. I don't know. It's just the whole thing is such a strange journey. It's just a strange, bizarre film to try to put this one together. I never need to see this again though. And that makes my final film on the list also a recent entry, and that is Strung. This is on Peacock. They skipped theaters for this one. This is Chloe Bailey is being subjected to some of the worst movies. Halle Bailey is off living her best life. She's in this year's A24, the debut with Jesse Eisenberg directing, and Chloe Bailey gets this Tyler Perry, Jason Blum produced nonsense that's on Peacock. That's this nun film. The speech that Lynn Whitfield gives at the end was insane. There's so many moments that just, I don't know if it's trying to be campy. I don't know what it's trying to do, but it telegraphs way too many things. And you're like, why is there this aggressive snake in this child's bedroom? The snake isn't even like a normal snake. I hated everything about this movie. This movie struggles so hard. Some of the cast is actually pretty good. I thought Chloe actually tried to do as much as she could with the role that she was given. Coco Jones, who plays her best friend, was entertaining. So this is sort of like my 10th one. Later on in the year, I'm sure I'll see a worse movie, and this will be the one that gets bumped off my list. This and probably In the Hand of Dante will get bumped off my list because I can find little things. And I might let like Psycho Killer go and some, I don't know. We'll see what the worst 10 is at the end. But the thing about the worst of the year is it's not intentional because we all have the ability to not watch these movies. Like some people who work for trade publications and are assigned movies don't have choices, and they end up watching some weird shit. But for a lot of us that are trying to do this on our own, I have a choice. And so when I find 10 films, that means there are films that I thought of watching, and I was like, no, I can't do that to myself. Like Your Fault London. I didn't like the first one. Why would I watch the sequel so that it can be on my list? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I can skip things like that, so films like that can not end up on my list. Anyway, so these are the worst 10 films I've seen this year. I plan on making another list on the opposite, but let me know what you think in the comments. What are the worst films you've seen this year? I hope you clicked like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the other side.